The Magic of Not Chasing, written and published by Ngasline. There's an interesting idea that many successful people have found. When you stop chasing what you want so hard, it starts to come to you instead. This is not about giving up, but about achieving a calm state where your desires come to you just as strongly as you once pursued them. The chase mentality. From our earliest moments, we learn to chase. As infants, we reach for colorful toys dangling above our cribs. As toddlers, we pursue butterflies in gardens and race after soap bubbles floating in the air. This innate drive to pursue what catches our attention follows us into adulthood, where it transforms into chasing success, relationships, wealth, and happiness. Society reinforces this chase mentality at every turn. We see it in advertising that promises fulfillment through purchases, in social media that encourages us to pursue likes and followers, and in cultural narratives that equate constant striving with virtue. Our educational systems train us to chase grades. Our workplaces push us to chase promotions, and our social circles often measure worth by the visible markers of achievement we've accumulated. The psychological roots of this behavior run deep. Our primitive brain is wired to pursue what we perceive as valuable or necessary for survival. In ancient times, this manifested as literally chasing food or fleeing from dangers. Today, these same neural pathways activate when we pursue modern desires: recognition, security, love, or success. The dopamine release we experience during the chase creates a powerful feedback loop, making the pursuit itself addictive, often more so than achieving the actual goal. This chase mentality becomes particularly evident in how we approach personal growth and happiness. We attend seminars, read self-help books, and follow gurus, constantly seeking the next breakthrough that will finally make us feel complete. We chase perfection in our bodies, our careers, our relationships, and our spiritual practices. The irony is that this very pursuit often becomes the obstacle to finding what we seek. The cost of constant chasing manifests in various ways. Physically, it creates tension and stress in our bodies. Emotionally, it leaves us feeling perpetually unfulfilled as we're always focusing on what's next rather than what's present. Mentally, it creates a state of chronic dissatisfaction as the achievement of one goal merely leads to the pursuit of another. This endless cycle of chasing can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a disconnection from our authentic selves. Consider how this plays out in everyday life. A person might chase a romantic partner, carefully calculating every text message and interaction, only to find that this very behavior makes them appear desperate and unattractive. An entrepreneur might aggressively pursue business opportunities, only to discover that their forceful approach drives potential clients away. A parent might chase their child's affection through endless gifts and concessions, only to realize they're undermining the genuine connection they desire. The chase mentality also reflects deeper insecurities and beliefs about our worth. We often chase what we think will make us complete, operating from a subtle belief that we are not enough as we are. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle where the more we chase, the more we reinforce the belief that we need something outside ourselves to be whole. Understanding why we chase is the first step toward breaking free from this pattern. It requires honest self-reflection about our motivations and the courage to question societal norms that promote constant pursuit as the path to fulfillment. When we begin to recognize the chase mentality in our own lives, we can start to explore a different way of being, one that allows life to unfold naturally, rather than trying to force outcomes through constant pursuit. The law of reverse effect. Have you ever noticed how the harder you try to fall asleep, the more awake you become? This fascinating phenomenon illustrates what psychologists call the law of reverse effect, the tendency for excessive effort to produce the opposite of the intended result. This principle appears throughout nature and human experience, showing us that sometimes our intense pursuit of a goal can actually prevent us from achieving it. Consider a simple example from physics: quicksand. The more violently a person struggles to escape it, the faster they sink. The counterintuitive solution is to relax and spread out, allowing the body's natural buoyancy to keep you afloat. This same principle applies to many areas of life where our desperate efforts can create resistance and tension that block our natural flow. The law of reverse effect explains why trying to impress others often makes us appear less authentic, and why forcing ourselves to be happy can lead to frustration and disappointment. It's like trying to grab water. The tighter you squeeze, the less you can hold. This paradox shows up in creative pursuits as well. Writers facing blank pages often find that trying to force creativity leads to writer's block, while allowing ideas to flow naturally produces better results. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist, developed a therapeutic technique called paradoxical intention based on this principle. He found that when people stopped fighting against their problems and instead embraced or even exaggerated them, their symptoms often diminished or disappeared. For instance, people with insomnia were instructed to try staying awake instead of forcing sleep, and their sleep naturally improved. This reverse effect appears in social dynamics too. When we desperately seek approval or friendship, people often sense this neediness and pull away. Yet when we're comfortable with ourselves and not seeking validation, we naturally attract others. The same applies to dating. Those who are desperately seeking love often struggle to find it, while those who are content being single tend to attract potential partners more easily. In the natural world, we see this principle at work in the way plants grow. You cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling on its petals. Growth happens naturally when the conditions are right. Similarly, our personal growth and achievements often come more easily when we create the right conditions and allow them to unfold naturally rather than forcing them. Understanding the law of reverse effect doesn't mean we should never put forth effort or work toward our goals. Instead, it suggests a different approach to achievement, one that emphasizes aligned action over forced effort. It's about recognizing when our striving is creating resistance and learning to work with our natural rhythms rather than against them. The key lies in developing awareness of when we're pushing too hard and learning to trust in the natural unfolding of events. This might mean taking inspired action while remaining detached from the outcome, or learning to distinguish between productive effort and counterproductive forcing. By understanding and working with the law of reverse effect, we can achieve our goals with greater ease and less resistance, allowing life to flow naturally instead of constantly swimming upstream. The power of surrender. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness or defeat, yet it represents one of the most powerful forces in personal transformation. The art of surrendering doesn't mean giving up on our dreams or accepting less than we deserve. Instead, it's about releasing our death grip on how things should unfold and allowing life to work its magic through unexpected channels. When we truly understand surrender, we recognize it as an active, conscious choice rather than passive resignation. It's the difference between throwing our hands up in despair and opening them in acceptance. This subtle but crucial distinction changes everything about how we approach life's challenges and opportunities. True surrender requires tremendous courage because it asks us to release control, something our minds desperately cling to for safety. Yet control is largely an illusion. We can influence outcomes through our actions, but we cannot dictate exactly how events will unfold or how others will respond. The moment we embrace this truth, we begin to experience a profound sense of freedom. Healthy detachment serves as the cornerstone of effective surrender. It allows us to maintain our desires and aspirations while releasing our attachment to specific outcomes. Think of it like planting a garden. We can prepare the soil, plant the seeds, and provide water and nutrients, but we cannot control exactly how each plant will grow. Our role is to create favorable conditions and then step back, allowing nature to work its course. The practice of surrender involves developing a deep trust in life's inherent wisdom. This doesn't mean becoming passive or inactive. Rather, it means learning to flow with life's current instead of constantly swimming against it. When we surrender, we often discover that life has better plans for us than we could have imagined for ourselves. Implementing surrender in daily life requires consistent practice. It begins with awareness, noticing when we're gripping too tightly to outcomes, relationships, or beliefs. As we identify these areas of attachment, we can consciously choose to loosen our hold. This might mean taking a deep breath and saying, I release my need to control this situation, or simply acknowledging, I don't know what's best here, and that's okay. The paradox of surrender lies in its power to bring us exactly what we need, often in ways we never expected. When we stop forcing solutions and instead allow space for possibilities, we create openings for synchronicity and serendipity. This doesn't mean we abandon our goals or become passive observers of our lives. Instead, we learn to combine intentional action with open-handed acceptance of whatever results emerge. Practicing surrender also involves developing comfort with uncertainty. Our minds crave certainty and predictability, but life rarely delivers either. When we can rest in the unknown, treating it as a field of infinite possibility rather than a threat, we access a deeper level of peace and potential. This comfort with uncertainty becomes a superpower in navigating life's inevitable changes and challenges. The art of surrender transforms our relationship with effort and struggle. Instead of pushing harder when we encounter resistance, we learn to step back, reassess, and find the path of least resistance. This approach conserves energy and often leads to more elegant solutions than brute force could ever achieve. It's about working smarter, not harder, and trusting that when we align with life's natural flow, things tend to work out in surprisingly beautiful ways. Relationships, when less is more. The dynamics of human connection reveal a fascinating paradox. The harder we chase after relationships, the more elusive they become. This phenomenon plays out countless times in romantic partnerships, friendships, and even professional networks. When we desperately pursue others, we often create an energetic imbalance that pushes them away, like two magnets repelling each other when forced together. At the core of this dynamic lies our inherent need for authenticity. People are naturally drawn to those who embody genuine self-expression rather than those who shift to please others. When we chase relationships, we often unconsciously compromise our authentic selves, trying to become what we think others want us to be. This creates a disconnection not only from ourselves, but also from the very people we're trying to connect with. The magic happens when we learn to stand firmly in our truth and allow relationships to develop organically. This doesn't mean becoming passive or disinterested. Rather, it means engaging with others from a place of self-sufficiency and genuine curiosity. When we release the need to control outcomes or force connections, we create space for authentic relationships to flourish. Consider how children form friendships. They don't strategize about building relationships or worry about saying the right things. They simply show up as themselves, share their toys, express their thoughts freely, and connect naturally with those who resonate with their energy. This pure, agenda-free approach to connection often creates the strongest bonds. The same principle applies to romantic relationships. When we're constantly seeking validation or trying to make someone love us, we unconsciously communicate a lack of self-worth. This neediness can be overwhelming for potential partners and often leads to the opposite of what we desire. Instead, focusing on self-development, pursuing our interests, and cultivating inner contentment creates an attractive energy that naturally draws others toward us. Building genuine connections without an agenda requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of approaching relationships with the question, "What can I get from this person?" we can ask, "How can we authentically share this moment?" This subtle shift changes the entire dynamic of interaction. It moves us from a place of lack and need to one of abundance and giving. The practice of not chasing in relationships also involves developing healthy boundaries. When we're clear about our values, needs, and limits, we naturally attract people who respect and appreciate these aspects of our personality. This clarity acts as a natural filter, helping us connect with individuals who are truly aligned with who we are. Another crucial aspect of building authentic relationships is learning to be comfortable with space and silence. Just as music needs pauses between notes to create harmony, relationships need breathing room to develop naturally. This means being okay with periods of solitude, allowing friendships to ebb and flow, and not forcing constant communication or connection. The art of not chasing in relationships ultimately leads to deeper, more meaningful connections. When we release the need to control, manipulate, or force outcomes, we create space for genuine intimacy to develop. This approach allows both parties to feel seen, heard, and appreciated for who they truly are, rather than who they pretend to be. Real connection emerges from this place of authenticity and mutual respect, creating relationships that are both fulfilling and sustainable. Career success through ease. The traditional approach to career success often involves pushing, striving, and relentlessly chasing opportunities. We've been conditioned to believe that the harder we work and the more aggressively we pursue our goals, the more likely we are to achieve them. Yet, this approach frequently leads to burnout, missed opportunities, and a disconnection from our authentic path. The magic happens when we learn to work with ease and allow success to unfold naturally. Consider the concept of flow state, that magical zone where work feels effortless and time seems to disappear. This state emerges not when we're forcing ourselves to perform, but when we're naturally aligned with our tasks and fully present in the moment. Flow represents the perfect balance between challenge and skill, where we're neither overwhelmed nor understimulated. It's in this state that our best work emerges, and interestingly, it comes from a place of ease rather than strain. When we stop chasing career success with desperate energy, we become more attuned to genuine opportunities that align with our authentic talents and interests. This doesn't mean becoming passive or lazy. Rather, it means adopting a state of relaxed alertness where we can recognize and respond to opportunities that genuinely serve our growth. It's like being a skilled surfer who knows when to paddle and when to ride the wave. There's effort involved, but it's applied with wisdom and timing rather than constant force. Our professional relationships also transform when we release the need to chase. Instead of networking with an agenda or constantly trying to prove our worth, we can focus on building genuine connections and sharing our authentic contributions. This natural approach often leads to unexpected doors opening and opportunities arising from genuine relationships rather than forced networking efforts. The workplace itself responds differently to someone operating from a place of ease. When we're not desperately trying to control outcomes or prove ourselves, we make clearer decisions, communicate more effectively, and often find creative solutions that we might have missed in a more pressured state. This relaxed competence is magnetic. Consider how innovation often emerges not from forced brainstorming sessions, but from moments of relaxation when the mind is free to make new connections. Many groundbreaking ideas have come to inventors and entrepreneurs during moments of ease, while taking a walk during a shower or upon waking from sleep. This illustrates how releasing the grip on forcing outcomes can actually lead to better results. Creating success through ease requires trust in our capabilities and the natural unfolding of events. It means focusing on excellence in our current position rather than constantly reaching for the next level. When we pour our energy into making our present work as valuable as possible, advancement often occurs organically. This approach allows us to build a solid foundation of skills and experiences, making each step of our career journey more sustainable and fulfilling. The key is to maintain balanced action, neither pushing too hard nor becoming completely passive. It's about recognizing when to put in effort and when to step back, when to speak up and when to speak up, and when to listen, when to initiate and when to wait. This dance of engaged ease creates a sustainable path to career success that doesn't deplete our energy or compromise our well-being. By learning to work with the natural flow of opportunities and timing, we often achieve more than we could through constant pushing and chasing. The art of natural timing. Everything in nature has its own rhythm and timing. Trees don't force their blossoms to bloom, and seasons don't rush their natural progression. Yet in our modern world, we often find ourselves fighting against natural timing, trying to force outcomes before their moment of ripenness. Understanding and aligning with divine timing is perhaps one of the most powerful skills we can develop in our journey of not chasing. Divine timing operates on a different schedule than our ego-driven timelines. It's the perfect orchestration of events, circumstances, and readiness that creates optimal conditions for manifestation. Think of how a fruit naturally ripens. Attempting to speed up this process only results in produce that lacks flavor and nutrition. Similarly, when we try to force life events before their time, we often end up with hollow victories or incomplete experiences. The rhythm of life has its own intelligence. Consider how indigenous cultures have long understood the importance of moving in harmony with natural cycles. They plant according to moon phases, hunt when animals are abundant, and rest when nature calls for it. This wisdom isn't mystical. It's deeply practical. When we learn to recognize and follow life's natural rhythm, we expend less energy and achieve better results. Patience becomes a strategic tool when we understand natural timing. Instead of viewing it as passive waiting, we can see patience as active alignment with the universal flow. It's like surfing. Success comes not from fighting the waves, but from reading them correctly and positioning ourselves accordingly. The skilled surfer knows that forcing a ride on the wrong wave is not only ineffective, but potentially dangerous. Our modern culture's obsession with speed and immediate results has disconnected us from this natural wisdom. We've been conditioned to believe that faster is always better, that waiting equals weakness, and that we must constantly push to make things happen. This mindset creates resistance and often leads to exhaustion, frustration, and suboptimal outcomes. Learning to read and trust life's timing requires developing new skills. It means becoming attuned to subtle signs and signals, learning to distinguish between fear-based hesitation and intuitive timing, and developing trust in the process of life itself. When we feel internal resistance to moving forward, it might not be fear holding us back. It could be our inner wisdom indicating that the timing isn't right. Sometimes the most powerful action we can take is to wait. This isn't passive waiting, but rather a dynamic state of readiness. Like an archer drawing their bow, we maintain our aim while waiting for the perfect moment to release. This period of waiting often serves as valuable preparation time, allowing us to develop necessary skills, gather resources, or gain crucial insights. Understanding natural timing also helps us recognize when it's time to act decisively. Just as nature has seasons of rest and seasons of intense activity, we too will experience moments when swift, decisive action is required. The key is developing the discernment to know the difference. When we're aligned with natural timing, these moments of action feel smooth and effortless, like a river flowing downstream. By embracing the art of natural timing, we move from forcing to flowing, from pushing to allowing, and from exhaustion to ease. We learn to trust that everything has its season, and that fighting against the natural order only creates unnecessary struggle. This understanding brings a deep sense of peace and allows us to operate in harmony with life's inherent wisdom. Abundance without grasping. The concept of abundance has been greatly misunderstood in our modern culture. We often associate it with aggressive pursuit, constant striving, and relentless ambition. Yet, true abundance operates under entirely different principles, ones that align more closely with receptivity than pursuit. When we grasp too tightly at wealth, success, or material possessions, we create energetic resistance that actually repels what we desire. Consider how water behaves when you try to grab it. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. However, when you open your palm and create a gentle cup shape, the water remains. This same principle applies to abundance in all its forms. By releasing our death grip on outcomes and creating space in our lives, we allow prosperity to flow naturally. The wealth paradox reveals itself in fascinating ways throughout history. Those who focus solely on accumulating wealth often find themselves in a perpetual state of perceived lack, while those who concentrate on creating value and maintaining an open, grateful mindset frequently experience unexpected windfalls and opportunities. This isn't mere coincidence. It's a reflection of universal principles at work. Our relationship with money and resources often stems from deep-seated beliefs formed in childhood. Many of us carry a scarcity mindset that tells us there isn't enough to go around. We must fight for our share, or that wealth is somehow wrong or dirty. These limiting beliefs create an energetic container that can only hold so much abundance. By examining and releasing these old patterns, we expand our capacity to receive. The practice of creating space for prosperity involves both internal and external actions. Internally, we cultivate gratitude for what we already have, trust in life's natural abundance, and release anxiety about the future. Externally, we organize our physical space, maintain clear financial records, and eliminate clutter that blocks the flow of new resources into our lives. A powerful shift occurs when we move from a mindset of "I need to make this happen" to "I am open to receiving." This subtle but significant change allows us to remain active participants in creating wealth while releasing the desperate energy that often accompanies pursuit. We can set goals, make plans, and take inspired action while maintaining an inner state of peaceful detachment from outcomes. The universe operates on principles of expansion and contraction, giving and receiving. When we grasp desperately at wealth, we interrupt this natural flow. Instead, we can learn to trust in the cyclical nature of abundance, understanding that periods of greater and lesser financial flow are normal and natural. This trust allows us to maintain emotional equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. Practice becoming aware of the energy with which you approach money and success. Are you coming from a place of fear and scarcity or trust and abundance? Notice how your body feels when you think about finances. Tension indicates grasping, while relaxation suggests openness to receive. By maintaining this awareness, you can gradually shift your relationship with abundance to one that attracts rather than repels. True wealth extends far beyond monetary value. When we release our fixation on financial measures of success, we often find abundance manifesting in unexpected forms, enriching relationships, opportunities for growth, creative inspiration, and moments of joy. By expanding our definition of prosperity, we create more channels through which abundance can flow into our lives. Physical well-being through release. Our relationship with health and wellness has become increasingly complex in modern times. We're bombarded with conflicting information about diets, exercise routines, and lifestyle choices, creating a stressful pursuit of perfect health that often undermines our well-being. The irony is that this obsessive chase for health can generate stress and anxiety that negatively impact our physical state. The magic of not chasing applies beautifully to physical wellness. When we release our death grip on controlling every aspect of our health, we often find our bodies naturally gravitating toward balance. This doesn't mean abandoning healthy practices, but rather approaching them with a spirit of gentle awareness instead of rigid control. Consider how animals in nature maintain their health. They don't count calories or follow exercise programs, yet they instinctively move, rest, and eat in ways that support their well-being. Humans possess similar intuitive wisdom, but we've largely disconnected from it through years of external rules and shoulds. Reconnecting with our body's intelligence starts with listening. Instead of forcing yourself through punishing workouts because you should, notice what types of movement bring you joy and energy. Your body might crave a vigorous run one day and gentle stretching the next. This intuitive approach to exercise often leads to more consistent activity because it emerges from genuine desire rather than obligation. The same principle applies to nutrition. While it's valuable to understand basic nutrition principles, becoming obsessive about food rules often leads to stress eating or restriction cycles. When we release the need to follow perfect diets, we can better tune into our body's natural hunger and fullness signals. We might notice we naturally desire lighter, fresher foods when it's hot outside, or warming, heartier meals during cold weather. Sleep is another area where letting go yields better results than forcing. The harder we try to make ourselves sleep, the more elusive it becomes. By releasing the anxiety around getting perfect sleep and creating gentle, supportive bedtime routines, we allow our natural sleep patterns to emerge. Stress reduction through release is particularly powerful for physical health. Chronic stress impacts every system in our body, from immune function to digestion to hormonal balance. Rather than adding to our stress by trying to eliminate it completely, we can practice accepting and releasing tension as it arises. Simple practices like conscious breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and mindful walking help us release physical tension without struggling against it. This approach to health also includes releasing comparison with others. Everybody is unique with different needs, capabilities, and natural rhythms. When we stop chasing someone else's definition of health or fitness and tune into what truly serves our individual well-being, we often find sustainable paths to vitality. The paradox of physical well-being is that the less we obsess over it, the more naturally it tends to flow. This doesn't mean becoming passive or neglectful, but rather finding the sweet spot between conscious care and relaxed acceptance. It's about creating supportive habits while remaining flexible and responsive to our body's changing needs. By releasing the need to control every aspect of our health, we create space for our body's natural healing and balancing mechanisms to function optimally. We can trust in our body's wisdom while providing it with gentle support through mindful movement, nourishing food, adequate rest, and stress release. This balanced approach leads to sustainable well-being without the exhaustion of constant pursuit. The practice of presence. Being present is perhaps the most powerful antidote to the chase mentality. When we're fully immersed in the current moment, the compulsion to pursue future outcomes naturally dissolves. Yet for many of us, presence remains elusive. Our minds constantly drift to future worries or past regrets, pulling us away from the richness of now. True presence begins with a simple acknowledgement of where we are. It means fully accepting our current circumstances, emotions, and experiences without trying to change them. This acceptance creates a foundation of peace that allows us to engage more deeply with life as it unfolds. When we stop resisting what is, we free up enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy previously spent on wishing things were different. The practice of presence directly counteracts the chase mentality by showing us that everything we need is available right now. Often, we chase things because we believe happiness lies in some future achievement or acquisition. But presence reveals that fulfillment exists in this moment, in the simple act of conscious awareness and engagement with life. Mindfulness serves as a gateway to deeper presence. By deliberately bringing attention to our breath, physical sensations, or immediate surroundings, we anchor ourselves in the now. This doesn't mean we never think about the future. Rather, we develop the ability to consciously choose where we direct our attention. We can plan while remaining grounded in present reality rather than getting lost in anxiety about what might happen. Future anxiety dissolves naturally as we strengthen our presence muscle. When we fully inhabit each moment, we realize that life only ever happens now. The future is simply a concept in our minds. It never actually arrives as anything other than another present moment. This understanding helps release the grip of worry about what might happen and allows us to pour our energy into what's actually happening. Presence also reveals the inherent abundance of life. When we're fully here, we notice countless small pleasures and opportunities we typically overlook while chasing bigger things. The warmth of sunlight, the taste of good food, meaningful connections with others. These simple experiences become more vivid and satisfying when we give them our full attention. The practice of presence requires patience and compassion with ourselves. Our minds naturally wander, and that's okay. The key is noticing when we've drifted into past or future and gently bringing attention back to now. Each time we do this, we strengthen our capacity for presence. Over time, staying present becomes more natural and automatic. Technology and modern life present unique challenges to presence. Constant notifications, information overload, and cultural pressure to always be planning ahead can make it difficult to stay grounded in now. This makes it even more important to create intentional spaces for presence in our daily lives, whether through meditation, time in nature, or simply taking regular breaks from screens to tune into our immediate experience. As we deepen our practice of presence, we naturally move through life with greater ease and grace. Rather than constantly reaching for the next thing, we learn to rest in the fullness of now. This creates space for life to unfold naturally, without the friction and resistance that comes from always trying to get somewhere else. The magic of not chasing reveals itself most powerfully when we fully arrive in the present moment. Cultivating inner peace. Inner peace isn't something we can chase or force into existence. It emerges naturally when we create the right conditions in our lives and minds. The journey to emotional stability begins with accepting that turbulence is a natural part of life, but we can choose how we respond to it. This acceptance doesn't mean resignation to chaos. Rather, it represents the first step toward genuine tranquility. Self-acceptance practices form the foundation of lasting inner peace. When we stop fighting against who we are and embrace our whole selves, including our perceived flaws and imperfections, we remove a significant source of internal conflict. This means acknowledging our emotions without judgment, understanding our patterns without criticism, and treating ourselves with the same compassion we'd offer a dear friend. The path to emotional stability involves developing a different relationship with our thoughts and feelings. Instead of trying to control or eliminate uncomfortable emotions, we learn to observe them with curiosity and detachment. This perspective shift allows us to experience our emotional landscape without becoming overwhelmed by it. Like watching clouds pass across the sky, we can notice our feelings without becoming entangled in them. Finding calm in chaos requires us to anchor ourselves in something deeper than external circumstances. This might mean connecting with our breath, focusing on physical sensations, or maintaining awareness of the present moment. These simple practices help us stay centered when life becomes turbulent. The key is consistency, establishing these habits during peaceful times so they're available when we need them most. Creating inner peace also involves setting healthy boundaries and learning to say no without guilt. Many of us sacrifice our peace trying to please others or meet impossible standards. By clearly defining what we will and won't accept in our lives, we protect our emotional well-being and create space for genuine tranquility to flourish. Maintaining emotional stability doesn't mean eliminating all negative emotions or stress from our lives. Instead, it's about developing resilience and the ability to return to center more quickly after disruption. This involves recognizing our emotional triggers, understanding our patterns, and having reliable tools for self-regulation. Regular practices like meditation, journaling, or gentle movement can help build this emotional resilience. The environment we create around us plays a crucial role in cultivating inner peace. This includes both our physical space and the company we keep. Decluttering our surroundings, minimizing exposure to negative influences, and surrounding ourselves with supportive people all contribute to a more peaceful internal state. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do for our peace of mind is simply remove what disturbs it. True inner peace comes from aligning our actions with our values and living authentically. When we stop trying to be who we think we should be and embrace who we are, internal conflict naturally diminishes. This alignment creates a sense of coherence in our lives that supports emotional stability and genuine contentment. Cultivating inner peace is an ongoing practice rather than a destination. It requires patience, self-compassion, and consistent attention to our internal state. As we develop these qualities, we become less reactive to external circumstances and more able to maintain our center regardless of what's happening around us. This internal stability becomes a source of strength not just for ourselves, but for everyone we interact with, creating ripples of peace that extend far beyond our personal experience. The power of aligned action. Taking action is essential in life, but not all action is created equal. There exists a profound difference between aligned action and forced action, a distinction that can determine whether we experience flow and fulfillment or struggle and strain. Aligned action emerges naturally from our inner wisdom and timing, while forced action stems from fear, pressure, or external expectations. When we learn to recognize aligned action, we discover a way of moving through life that feels both effortless and powerful. It's like catching a wave while surfing. There's a perfect moment when everything lines up and we can ride the energy that's already in motion. This doesn't mean we don't paddle or position ourselves. It means we learn to read the waves and move in harmony with them rather than fighting against their natural rhythm. Our intuition plays a vital role in identifying aligned action. That quiet inner voice often knows exactly when to move forward and when to hold back. The challenge lies in learning to trust and follow this guidance rather than allowing our anxious minds to override it. Sometimes aligned action means taking bold steps forward, while other times it means consciously choosing to wait and observe. The beauty of aligned action is that it doesn't require forcing or pushing. Instead, it flows from a place of inner certainty and rightness. When we're in this state, we often find that doors open naturally, resources appear unexpectedly, and the right people cross our paths at just the right moments. This isn't magical thinking. It's the natural result of moving in harmony with life's flow rather than attempting to swim upstream. Learning to distinguish between aligned and forced action requires developing sensitivity to our internal states. Forced action often comes with tension, anxiety, and a sense of pushing against resistance. Aligned action, by contrast, feels light, energizing, and natural, even when it involves facing challenges or stepping out of our comfort zones. This approach doesn't mean we become passive or wait indefinitely for perfect conditions. Instead, we learn to prepare ourselves while remaining open and responsive to timing. Like an archer drawing back their bow, we ready ourselves while waiting for the optimal moment to release. This preparation might involve developing skills, gathering resources, or building relationships, all while maintaining an attitude of relaxed readiness. One of the most powerful aspects of aligned action is its sustainability. When we act from alignment, we don't burn out or exhaust ourselves. Instead, each action builds upon the previous one, creating momentum and flow. This sustainable approach allows us to accomplish more with less effort, preserving our energy and maintaining our well-being along the way. Fear often masks itself as urgency, pushing us to act before the time is right. Learning to sit with this discomfort without immediately reacting is crucial for developing our capacity for aligned action. It's about trusting that when the moment is right, we'll know it, and we'll have the courage and clarity to move forward decisively. The practice of aligned action transforms not only what we do, but how we experience life itself. We move from a state of constant striving to one of flowing and allowing. Our actions become more effective, our timing more precise, and our results more satisfying. This way of being creates a natural harmony between our internal world and external reality, allowing us to achieve our goals while maintaining peace and presence. Living the relaxed life. The journey of not chasing culminates in creating a lifestyle that embodies relaxation and ease in every aspect of our lives. This isn't about becoming passive or lazy, but rather about establishing a sustainable way of living that allows life to flow naturally while maintaining our productivity and purpose. The foundation of living a relaxed life begins with our morning routine. Instead of jumping straight into the day's demands, take time to ease into wakefulness. This might mean sitting quietly with a cup of tea, doing gentle stretches, or simply watching the sunrise. These moments set the tone for the entire day, creating a buffer between rest and activity that allows us to maintain our center as we move through our responsibilities. Creating supportive environments plays a crucial role in maintaining a relaxed state. Our physical spaces significantly impact our mental state, so designing our homes and workspaces to promote calm can make a substantial difference. This might involve decluttering regularly, incorporating natural elements like plants and natural light, or creating dedicated spaces for relaxation and reflection. The goal is to make our environments work for us rather than against us in maintaining our peace. The relaxed life also involves setting healthy boundaries with technology and information. The constant bombardment of notifications, news, and social media can create an underlying current of tension that prevents true relaxation. Establishing specific times for checking messages and news, implementing regular digital detoxes, and creating tech-free zones in our homes helps maintain mental clarity and emotional balance. Relationships flourish in the context of a relaxed life. When we're not constantly pushing or pulling in our connections with others, we create space for authentic interactions. This means learning to be comfortable with silences, allowing conversations to unfold naturally and not feeling the need to fill every moment with activity or words. Quality time becomes truly quality when we're fully present and unhurried. Physical movement in a relaxed life looks different from the typical push and strain approach to exercise. It involves choosing activities that bring joy and vitality while honoring our body's natural rhythms. This might mean choosing walking over running, yoga over high-intensity training, or dancing over rigid workout routines. The key is finding forms of movement that energize rather than deplete us. Work takes on a new dimension when approached from a relaxed state. Rather than forcing productivity, we learn to ride the waves of our natural energy cycles. This means recognizing when we're in a flow state and maximizing those periods, while also honoring times when we need to step back and recharge. Projects progress more smoothly when we're not constantly pushing against our natural rhythms. Sleep becomes a sacred practice in the relaxed life. Instead of seeing it as lost productivity time, we recognize it as the foundation of our well-being. Creating evening rituals that help us wind down naturally, maintaining consistent sleep schedules, and prioritizing rest over late-night activities becomes second nature. Financial decisions in a relaxed life come from a place of trust rather than fear. This means making conscious choices about spending and saving while maintaining faith in the flow of abundance. It's about finding the balance between responsible planning and allowing life to unfold without constant worry about money. The art of living relaxed extends to how we handle challenges and setbacks. Rather than immediately reacting or trying to force solutions, we learn to pause, assess, and respond with clarity. This approach often leads to better outcomes while maintaining our peace of mind throughout the process. Living the relaxed life is an ongoing practice that becomes more natural with time. It's about creating sustainable patterns that support our well-being while allowing us to engage fully with life. When we master this art, we find that everything we need tends to come to us naturally, without the exhausting chase that once defined our lives.